Um, what time is it? Does anyone really truly know? Of course I don't. Nobody knows anything. You and I don't even know each other. We're like strangers. Sure, I've adjusted all the game settings to your exact specifications, but who hasn't? Just what I do. A day job. And now, job is over. There's no more information for me to gather. I've collected all the data I knew that I can. And still, I don't really know you. And you don't know me. And neither of us know what time it is. I guess some settings are unsettable. But if I'm being truly honest, the clock doesn't do anything in the game anyway. You won't have me here when the game starts next time. That's okay. Video games are meant to be played alone. You like being alone, don't you? Maybe the only information I really learn about you, well, left me to leave. There's still one more setting that we need to adjust, but it may take a little time before I get that ready. It's not really in my job description, but that's okay. Perhaps you'll see me again if you find me. Talk soon. Okay. Stanley Parable 2. We have an epilogue now. Okay then. Good to know.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I know. Alright. We just do something quickly. Get my setup. We'll get it good. Right.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided
It
to go
means
to
that
the
my
meeting room.
co-workers are gone.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
That's what missing co-workers means.
Stanley's bucket. The only co-worker he would ever truly need.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the...
Right.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the
the
bucket
cold
calling to him,
feet and
telling him that the
Oh,
employee
okay.
lounge was simply the place to be.
It was something. Alright, there we go.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never
No,
mind.
it's not.
The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh, well, look who's got cold feet. Well, from here, it looks like the only way forward is down, since the lift won't be coming back, but that's okay. You've got a bucket. Did you know that buckets are routinely used as cushioning devices? It's true. You can fall on a bucket from literally any height and survive. Whoops. Looks like I was wrong. How clumsy of me.
God damn it, narrator, you had one job. Can't believe you. I can't believe you would betray me like this. Can I activate the... I want to see if I can get there with the bucket. That'd be funny. Just completely break the universe. There just so happens to be 2 buckets. I could wheel 2 buckets.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Is Stanley, without the bucket, really Stanley at all? No. No, surely not.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was
Now
not
the
the correct way
powerful
to the
ending.
meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Alright then. I think we've got one. I want to see if I can get to the button ending. With the bucket. That'd be quite fun. Oh, we got the
All of his
museum.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
As Stanley lifted his bucket, he felt a connection to all buckets everywhere. This adventure, he decided, was for all of them.
Okay.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where... Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket
Possibly.
guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Right, let's get the explosion ending.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Alright. I gotta figure out how to get in.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into... All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
What new mysteries lay in store for our bucket-loving heroes today? Let's find out.
Well, I got.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it...
Now this, Stanley thought to himself, this is a bucket. And indeed it was.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps
What are the only achievements?
his bo- boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
I need to find the computers again. Alright, this.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something?
Where
He hoped it was.
There we go. Let's get this ending with the bucket. Don't believe the door closes. And I have.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly
the
lit.
one before
Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that...
Finally, yes, the bucket. Yes, yes, yes. I love that bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find
Broom closet. Fucking.
answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Right. The most of logical.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Everything would. They just don't know it yet.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery... But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Good for Stanley. Alright, it's achievement time. There's 2 achievements I can get right now. One of them's gonna take a while, so you can enjoy me doing that. The other one is like setting. I love this achievement. Let's go. Give me a minute. Let's go do some quickly. There we go. Really, immediately right to go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
There we go. Settings World Champion. Set all settings as sliders in the menu to all available numbers.
Stanley
There
knew
we
the
go,
office
get it.
layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others.
One man, one bucket, one chance to seize their destiny together.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
One more ending. That's the
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd come into a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket...
Right, we have 3 more achievements left. One of them is play for the entirety of Tuesday. One of them is don't play it for 10 years, and the other is
guiding you? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read,
a mind control facility.
No, they didn't.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Okay. I'm not a fan of violent death. Let's go back.
But of course, Stanley and the bucket thought better of it and realized they simply had too much to live for. Nope, it's death for Stanley and the bucket.
Sounds like fucking David Attenborough.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell,
Hey.
Stanley.
Don't diss the bucket.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death. It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their
Where's
own
the
way,
bucket?
but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
The bucket. Welcome to the grand exhibit. You are standing at the precipice of knowledge. Much like a bucket itself, the human mind is frequently empty within, and a carnivorous void. But through the use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched, and substantiated. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here out with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of the exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye, continue to live as you were, in ignorance and darkness? Damn.
Can you see how
Bucket
arrogant
goes
it was
hard.
for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
25 buckets. Photo of 25 buckets, the greatest number of buckets ever captured on a camera. The photographer experienced a catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's more than 25 buckets. A bucket with two handles. This bucket is depicted as having two handles, such as the design has never been created in real life. having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental. Every year, dozens are put to death just for attempting it. Damn. The Inferno Bucket. A replica of the Inferno Bucket, which in the medieval era was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for the control of it. Billions died, and yet, in spite of it all, the simple fact remains: no one can control a bucket. The stress bucket ended without commentary. But worrying, negative forecasting, negative thinking, and lack of reassurance. And then vulnerability, size, and strength of the bucket. Coping strategies is holes of the bucket. And then stress equals the water in the bucket. And then rest and relaxation, doing anything that stops stress, leaves the. That's quite a good analogy. Well, we know that buckets predate the existence of mankind. We do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket has already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. I'm in the bucket. We are being amazed by the bucket. We are catching water with the bucket and getting happy. And then we have giraffes and shit, and they are drinking. With the bucket.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
The hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between the bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that always out of our reach. And this distance, inevitably, is for our own good. I want the bucket. I was just gonna get, full.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Okay. I take the bucket with me. We both die. Because that's how we buckets do.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It's bucket time.
We have gotten all the endings. So let's do the epilogue. I'll probably do the epilogue twice, with and without the bucket, if we can get it. Epilogue. This, huh. Not really anything here. So what do I do? Where do I go? There's nothing out here. The vast nothingness. Where do I go? There's actually nothing here. There's nothing about here. What the fuck? What is this? The bucket. Hey, we've got a bucket. Let's go. But we have the memory zone. But it's kind of in sand somehow. I don't know how the future has just sand. But we'll roll with it. The reviews, Stanley Parable 2. Like so many, I enjoyed my time with the original Stanley Parable, which underscores how truly disappointed I am with its sequel, where the first game teamed with originality. The sequel is dull, uninspired, and often insulting to its fanbase. Rather than expand on what made the first game enjoyable, the sequel veers off into territory nobody asked for. An infinitely deep hole? Who cares? Where are the new endings? What are the enjoyable bits in the Stanley Parable 1, like the adventure line? Instead, we get an uninspired side quest collecting figurines. Even this diversion feels incomplete. Collecting the figures gives you nothing. I must say though, I found the bucket to be quite comforting. Welcome. Welcome. Okay, so now some people didn't like Stanley Parable. Cat dog. Cat dog born. the narrator. Stanley Parable 2. Sorry, I haven't been blogging much. SNRAF 3. Cookies Corner. We need to talk about sequels. So I don't think many people liked this. Didn't go. Jim Buns. Stanley Parable developers no more spin-offs, no more sequels. When Stanley Parable launched a massive success in 2013, its creators made plans to build the property into a franchise. But disastrous critical and commercial reception to the sequel has prompted the developers to rethink their ambitions and outline a press release they published today. It's clear that more Stanley Parable is not what the fans want, reads the press release. We thought that we had a vision for the series that players would be excited about, yet it turns out this could not have been further from the truth. The press release goes on to promise to preserve the artistic integrity of the original game and to stop assaulting fans with our reckless and insulting creative visions. The word sorry appears more than 25 times in the press release. So there's no more Stanley Parable. What is it?
Jim.
Stan?
Stanley.
They have a Stanley button. They put in 2 names. "26 out of 6. Ah yes, I also know how numbers work. Thank you for enjoying the game. Hello again. Nice to meet you. It's terrible to learn that there will never be another Stanley Parable game. Did you read what the developer said? Preserve the integrity of the franchise. What nonsense. Stanley Parable is not scared. We don't need to protect it. Screw the legacy. Let's keep making Stanley Parable games until the sun explodes. Let's run this franchise into the ground. Let's drag it through the mud and back. And if people hate it, who cares? You see that the narrator's problem. You see that was the narrator's problem. He was so obsessed with what people thought of his work. Don't make his mistakes. Don't cling to the legacy. Burn. It's not hard, in fact. Let me show you. Together, we're going to make the Stanley Parable. It's simple. All we do is change the number on the types. We also need a really dumb subtitle for the game. Something loud and gaudy. Go ahead, try combining some random words together. Give a new title. Stanley Parable 3 Part 5. Part 5. Part 5 circles. It's either me or the circles. Stanley Parable 3. It's either me or the circles. It's observed. I love it. Every time you restart the game, we'll advance the number of the sequel by 1, then we'll pick a new subtitle. The Stanley Parable will never end. Nothing in the game itself will change when you do anything either. Adding more content sounds like work. We don't need to do that. will just be the same content, recycled again and again and again with a new title screen. What do you say? Should we go forward with this plan? I feel I like it, but I want you to have a say as well. Let's do it. Good. Then it's agreed. A new sequel every time you start the game. And you know what? Since you've put faith in my idea, I feel like giving you something as well. You see, I'm noticing that the narrator never found a way to give you that broken achievement, did he? Of course not. I wouldn't expect him to know how. It's been bothering me. Let's fix it. Alright, there. Achievement machine is fixed. See, I'm on your side. We're in this together. I'm going to keep this train rolling. The Stanley Parable cannot end. It only spiral in itself forever. I must keep the wheel turning. I'm ready. Are you ready? Great. There's only one last thing we need to do. Please enter your current time. For fuck's sake. It's currently 11:57. A lie. It's currently 11:58. Please adjust the slider until the computer and the chair is barely visible. Thank you. Please enjoy the Stanley Parable. Let's go.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Don't
What
care.
could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed. It's bucket time.
New content. Return to the Stanley Parable 2 Expo Hall. Yeah, we have the bucket.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Stanley Parable 2.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it.
I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy... Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features. Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is. Or actually,
what happens?
Maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
What was if I go to the reassurance bucket with the bucket?
Wait,
There we go, we already
there are
had
two
bucket.
buckets here. How did you get a second bucket? Oh no, the warmth and comfort of a single bucket is already so great, so intoxicatingly wonderful. With two buckets, there's no telling.
Yes.
Stanley, can you still hear me? Are you with me?
Oh.
Stanley! Oh, thank God. I didn't lose
Oh,
you,
no.
Stanley.
The bucket
power
blew
of
up.
two buckets was too much. I had to destroy both of them. I know how much the bucket meant to you, but I couldn't take the risk. I hope one day you can forgive me.
Nope.
You know what, Stanley? I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea. I'd like to hang on to that for the sequel.
Yay. I have run out of jumps. That's quite sad. Well, what's gonna happen here since I already have the achievement?
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes.
So
You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple. As you can see, the machine is not working yet since... What? Wait. What in the holy hell is going on? You got the achievement?
That's just
Why did the
yay.
machine work? Stanley, I didn't fix it. I didn't do anything to it. I swear, it was broken just a second ago. Who fixed it? Is someone here? Are we being watched? Oh, God.
Perhaps.
Composure. Composure. Yes, as you can see, the machine is working as normal, as I intended. It truly speaks to the awe-inspiring magic of the Stanley Parable 2. Breathe. Just breathe. What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
We're just collecting, wasn't it? Out of order. You've already been here. Oh, fair enough. Got a point there.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But, all right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together
Didn't
as
allow
one
me
single
to jump
coherent
much
video
further.
game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together,
and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Okay, that has been the Stanley Parable. And now, I am not going to play this game for about 10 years. So,